We're in the Netherlands for the third round of the 2013 FIA GT Series at the picturesque Zandvoort circuit on the coast. Before we get racing underway here though, let's have a little look back at what happened last time out in Zolder. At the race start, Peter Cox managed to get around the outside of Stefan Ortelli going into turn one. Sebastian Loeb had a little bit of a collision with Jan Seyfarth, sending those two sliding towards the back of the field, and unfortunately Lucas Ordóñez couldn't avoid the Mercedes, and the RJN Nissan picked up suspension damage. Sebastian Loeb managed to limp back to the pits in his McLaren, but the race was over for Ordóñez and the RJN Nissan squad. They were out of the race. Also out of the race were Maximilian Buch and Alan Day, the Mercedes that had been running strongly early on, grinding to a halt unfortunately, but Peter Cox in the Lamborghini was pulling away from Stefan Ortelli in second place in the Audi. Two more Audis were going door to door, quite literally, as Nicky Meyer-Manhoff battled with Carlos Vieira going down into the first corner. Meyer-Manhoff managed to hold the inside line, but it wasn't enough, and Vieira held on to the place. There was some excellent battling throughout the midfield, and Caca Bueno showed his race experience to make up a position. At the pit stops, Laurens Vanthoor took over from Stefan Ortelli in the WRT Audi and came out of the pits just in front of the other Audi. There was a bit of a scare when the wheel came off. Vincent Voss was convinced it was from an Audi, but it was from a Ford GT. When the Reiter Engineering Lamborghini came out of the pits, it had Stefan Rosina at the wheel, and he managed to just come out in front of the chasing Audi of Vanthoor. Further back, René Rast was now on a mission, making up places left, right and centre. Meyer-Manhoff naturally delighted, but it was the battle for the lead that had everyone's attentions in the final few laps. Laurens Vanthoor desperately trying to find a way past Slovakian Rosina. They almost touched at certain points on the circuit, but a brilliant defensive drive from Rosina saw him hold on to take the victory. Despite Vanthoor's attempt in the final corner, the Reiter Lamborghini squad took the checkered flag. Delight on the pit wall for Peter Cox, Hans Reiter and the rest of the Reiter Engineering squad, and the top step of the podium for Cox and Rosina, bringing them into championship contention. Edward Sandstrom and Frank Stippler are second in the championship, but the second place in the race for Ortelli and Vanthoor means they lead the series as we head to Zandvoort. We've got a stunning depth of talent in FIA GT this year, none more so than 9 times World Rally champion Sebastian Loeb.
I'm happy because I enjoy what I do. For sure, it's very different from rally. In the rally, you have only 2 passes recce to take the notes at slow speed, and then you have to push very hard with the notes of your co-driver on different type of roads, and you have to improvise a lot in your driving. Now it's a different approach. You need to be perfect everywhere, every corner, every braking, and you need to be on the limit everywhere. And that's a new thing for me. I have also to discover every tracks, so it's always difficult at the start of the weekend to get in the rhythm. Every time I need to work and to try to understand where, why, but that makes it interesting.
But it's not just Sebastian Loeb who brings quality to the field. Ricardo Zonta, the Brazilian driver, was in Formula 1 for 6 years, and he is another strong competitor. After winning the 1997 Formula 3000 series, he then moved to Formula 1, scoring VAR's first points, and now he's here in FIA GT.
I won in Brazil the Formula 3 South America in 95. Then I came to Europe in 97, won the Formula 3000 championship. Also again, Formula 1, I did many races where I got some points. I never had any problems with the cars. Always I got very easy. Yeah, to get used to the GT cars, of course, closed cars took a little bit time because to get used with the not seeing the wheels, on brake, especially to feel when it's locking the wheels. So it took a little bit time, but what I can say, in 98 I was world champion from GT, and that was something very good and different for me, and I got used very quick.
The BMW Team Brazil squad has another strong driver in the shape of 5 times Brazilian stock car champion Caca Bueno. Caca, racing in GT cars in Europe for the first time, is finding it a bit of a challenge. He's more used to the V8 stock cars used in Brazil, but the Brazilian star is adapting to life in Europe.
The Brazilian stock cars, big engine, heavy car, no technology, 32 cars the same tires, same engines, same gearbox. And here now it's more, have a traction control, better aerodynamics, you go a little bit quicker in the turns. all the things happens faster. It's harder. When I race in Brazil, I race in one circuit. I race, I don't know, 100 times before. Against another drivers, I know a lot, the drivers. Here I come to one circuit, never raced before. Only 2 hours practice, direct to qualifying. Against another drivers, I know only by television. This is more difficult because that.
Over at WRT Audi is Stefan Ortelli, winner of the 1998 Le Mans 24-hour race. He also finished second in the year 2000 and in 2002 became the Porsche Super Cup champion before last year with WRT Audi winning the 2012 Blancpain Endurance Series.
It's not only souvenir, it's part of the reason why I'm here, you know. I think you really build your career with Le Mans, especially when you have the chance to join the strongest works team as I did with Porsche, Audi or Aston Martin, and for sure the 98 win was really, really important. But for me, also the couple of years after, when we did second with the Audi R8, it was probably the best car I never really drove in my life. It was really, really the optimum sports car I drove. I think 2002 was a really good year because I won the Super Cup, and at the same time I was world champion in FIA GT, which I did again the following year in 2003 with Mark Lieb. We won the NGT World Championship. So Super Cup was also a very good school, I would say, to learn how to adapt a car from another. Back to that period, I really loved it for sure.
And up against all these superstars in the RJ and Nissan is Lucas Ordóñez, the 2008 Nissan GT Academy winner. As the first winner of the PlayStation to Real Driver campaign, Ordóñez has been impressive in GT racing and is this year alongside experienced campaigner Alex Buncombe in the Nissan.
It's been 5 years now since I won GT Academy in 2008, so now feeling, you know, like a professional racing driver, competing against the best drivers, best teams and best championships. So, you know, it's tough, competition is very tight, so it's really hard to be on the limit in this car, so especially to be in the last tenth of the car. So I come from a different way of becoming a racing driver, but now we prove that it really works, and yeah, proving for the future and working hard to be and to learn every day as a racing driver.
So here we are at Zandvoort for the qualifying race of the Netherlands round here in the FIA GT Series. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is John Watson, and we've got the 1 hour qualifying race that will decide the grid for tomorrow's 1 hour main race. The track, well, it's a beautiful day. It's 22 degrees on the track, it's 23.3 degrees in the air, although it feels a little warmer than that, I must say, when you're running around. And John, the Netherlands circuit here, it's a fantastic place to race and a fantastic place to spectate from as well.
Well, first of all, it's a brilliant racetrack designed and constructed in the early 50s by a man called John Hugenholtz, who was a visionary in terms of race car circuit layout. It's a community circuit. It's normally absolutely heaving with literally the residents from Amsterdam, Haarlem and then Zandvoort. They just pile in. They love their motorsport at Zandvoort. They will turn out on a day like today or on the worst kind of North Sea gale, because the North Sea is literally a couple of 100 metres beyond the sand dunes where we are actually sitting in the middle of.
And there is the pole position car of Alvaro Parent. He stuck it on pole position in qualifying this morning. He and his teammate Sebastian Loeb will be racing that machine. Alongside them on the front row of the grid is Andreas Simonsen, and he and Sergei Afanasiev will be in the HTP Motorsport Mercedes SLS. You can see the number 2 car there, and there is Andreas at the wheel. The second row sees the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT of Laurens Van Thort alongside Alan Day. 2 strong performances from Mercedes. They've looked strong all weekend, haven't they?
Yes, again, the layout of this 4.3 kilometre circuit, approximately 12 corners. It depends how many you count the S's to be, and some of the double corners around the back of the circuit. But it's a tight circuit fundamentally, although the straight's reasonable length, but it's fundamentally a downforce racetrack. And those cars that carry more downforce, such as the Mercedes or even the BMWs, are the cars that have been showing consistently strongly. But that car on pole position, qualified by Alvaro Parent, he worked it out that they took the car here, ran on Friday, struggled with the car, but didn't really make any changes to it. They let the circuit come to the car, and then they put on a new set of Pirellis for qualifying 3. Alvaro did a slow out lap, nailed it for the qualifying lap and got that pole position. How the car and Parent will get on in this opening stage before the halfway mark for pit stops, that we don't know. Maybe not the consistency that we might see from either the Mercedes or possibly from the Audis on the second row of the grid with Ortelli and Laurens van Paul.
Let's have a closer look at this grid then. Alvaro Parent starting his Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren on pole. It's the HDP of Simonsen alongside. Then we've got the Belgian Audi Club of Laurens van Thor alongside Alan Day, the Israeli driver, starting the second Mercedes. Then we've got René Rast in 5th position. Fabio Anidi, best qualifying session for the AF Corsa squad. They start in 6th place. 7th position, Alain Coder with a strong performance in the Brazilian racing team BMW with Frank Stippler alongside him. 9th place is Dominic Baumann. They were a little disappointed with qualifying, but they managed to start in 9th place nevertheless. Alex Buncombe qualifying in 11th in the first of the JRN Nissans alongside Carlos Vieira. 13th place for Sergio Jimenez. He and Zonta disappointed with that, and in contrast, the pole position sister car is down in 14th place in the hand of Andy Zuber and Mike Parisi. Wolfgang Reip and Jan Seyfarth are in 15th and 16th places. 17th is the Dutch driver Melroy Heemskerk, starting the Team India BMW, and then another, well, an entirely Dutch team, in fact, Hausman and Brahms in that V8 Racing Corvette, starting at the back of the field alongside Peter Charouz and Jan Stovicek in the Gentleman Trophy class. But it was a shame for Maximilian Brahms and Duncan Hausman, because they really were hoping for a little bit of a stronger result, but they ended up with a tyre problem in the early stages of qualifying, which meant they were forced out of the session. And as ever, it will be a rolling start, so the cars are heading around now on their warm-up lap. You need to get the tyres up to temperature, of course, but it's also going to be interesting because, as you said, the McLarens just used the peak of the tyre performance perfectly, and that suggests that you only really get one great lap out of these tyres at the moment.
I would say that in qualifying with a fresh head of rubber, first flying lap is going to be your best timed lap, and someone like Alvaro Parent from a single-seater background knows that, and he made it work effectively for him. That's why they took that pole position. They did struggle, as I mentioned, on Friday, and the sister car of Mike Parisi and Andreas Zuber, they actually made a number of changes to try to adapt to the circuit, which is probably, with hindsight, the wrong thing to have done.
So the cars make their way around the final corner here before the start of the qualifying race here at Zandvoort. Pole position for Alvaro Parent. He qualified that car, and he starts the car on pole. There's his teammate Sebastian Loeb, 9 times World Rally champion, watching on. They won the qualifying race at Nogaro. The very first race of the season was a victory for the McLaren squad. They've yet to come anywhere near to victory again. Is that about to change this afternoon? The cars make their way out onto the grid then. When the red lights go out, the race will be underway. Wait for all the cars to get in line on the straight, then the race director will turn them off. Away we go, and it's a poor start for Parent. Look at the Audi coming through on the inside. Laurens van Thor could be into the lead of the race by the time we get down to Tarzan. There's just enough room for him if he can squeeze through. There's going to be contact. They go 3 abreast into Tarzan. They somehow make it stick, and Van Thor leads. Phenomenal stuff. Alvaro Parent's been shuffled way down the field. Is that him off onto the grass? What a disaster for them. Great start from Alain Coder, but the Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren appears to have a puncture, I think, and Sebastian Loeb himself is furious.
Well, like you can see, Alvaro Parent got muscled out on the one side by Laurens van Thor, and the other side by Andrea Simonsen, and he became simply just too much room. Contact, and then he got shuffled out to the outside of the corner. Contact, looks like a tyre left, front tyre deflation, and what disappointment for pole sitter man. But what a great and opportunistic start from Laurens van Thor in the Audi. Took the lead forcefully on the inside. He had the ground and he wasn't going to give it up.
He might even have gone over the grass at one point. We'll wait and see. But there is Laurens van Thor then. He raced here in 2009 in the Formula 3 Masters, the famous F3 race that they hold here. Valtteri Bottas won the race, but this afternoon it's all about Laurens van Thor, who's made a stunning getaway. So let's see, and there's the Corvette's made up a couple of places, but it looks like it's got a bit of front bodywork damage. Oh, big slide. I think That might have been Rene Rast coming down into the S's, having a bit of a moment, perhaps contact with someone behind him. Oh, they're out of the race. Alvaro Parent and Sebastian Loeb are out of the race, and Sebastian, well, you're not going to get through to Alvaro at the moment.
No, I mean, clearly there was damage to the car. We thought it might have been a left front. Obviously something more serious, because Alvaro Parent has pulled that car off the racetrack around the back of the circuit. But across the line for the first time, Laurens van Thor, 1.5 second lead advantage of Simonsen in the Mercedes.
So it's actually Rene Rast who is in third position, so it must have been the 13 Audi of Frank Stippler that was having a wobbly moment. So that's the battle at the moment for second and third place, because Van Thor is disappearing on off the road and Andreas Simonsen is coming under all sorts of pressure from the Audi behind. Here's a look at the replay, John, and 3 abreast into Tarzan. They made it work, but there was a casualty.
Yeah, but of course once they get to the pit lane on the left hand side, it all begins to squeeze up. Now Van Thor almost still in the pit lane, and Alvaro Parent really caught between a rock and a hard place, had nowhere to go, but the damage, I believe, had already been done, because something occurred in the middle of the corner. You can see Parent off the throttle. He knows he's got a problem which he can't rectify, and all the field just simply passes him on the outside on the exit of Tarzan happen.
And there you can see Alvaro bouncing along the grass on the outside of Tarzan as the rest of the cars try and squeeze through turn 2 and into turn 3. Car 2 is under investigation for contact at the start of the race. That is Andreas Simonsen then, which, well, he was on the outside really, so we've got a few cars off here.
That's our corner. That's right at the back of the circuit.
That's off at Skyflock, and that is the road drive Lamborghini. It's the RJN Nissan number 32 of Wolfgang Reip, and it is also the Corvette, the V8 Racing Corvette of Duncan Houseman, and they've all got together down there.
Front wheel of the Lamborghini.
Well, we're very close to the beach, but I don't think they were anticipating going to the sand that soon as the safety car comes out.
It had to be deployed. Safety car needs to be on track to get this situation, this mess, cleared up before this race can get back underway. But we've had first lap, pole setter out. Second lap, halfway around the second lap, 3 cars out. What are these, well, racing drivers? And I put that in inverted commas, because sometimes you just wonder if they understand what that title means.
So we can calm down for a moment, because we've had 4 frantic minutes at the start of this race. So just to confirm then, we've got Duncan Houseman out there, Wolfgang Reip, and it's Matthias Stumpf who started the road drive car. And there is the RJN crew on the pit wall watching, because their drivers are out of the race. And that's a real shame for Wolfgang. I was talking to Mark Szosicki, his teammate on the grid, who said, you know, qualifying wasn't quite as we planned. Oh, the Corvette's going to get going. Oh no, that rear left doesn't look particularly healthy, does it?
No, it's not. The rear corner, the suspension is broken, but you know, he's going to try and get it back. Duncan Houseman, well, dear me, if he can get that car back, he's decided the better of it. He's going to pull off to the side of the racetrack, but it's going to take a couple of laps to get, first of all, the Nissan away from the gravel trap, but principally the Lamborghini, which I believe, we got a quick glimpse of it, the right front wheel and suspension assembly looks like it isn't attached to the car, so until we get a better view of that, that car will probably have to be lifted onto the back of a flatbed truck with a crane. That's going to take 3 or 4 more laps.
So, safety car deployed here at Zandvoort. The safety car only just made it out in front of Laurens van Thor, and in all that, well, we're going to have a look at the replay at the start, but Rene Rast is up into second place. That's worth pointing out. He got past Andreas Simonsen. Now, Simonsen in the red and white Mercedes on the far right of this shot, he's under investigation for contact at the start of the race. Now, do you think he should have given these guys more room?
No, what he did, he came down and had contact with Parent before they were fully in the corner, and that in a sense is what set this whole process of the Parent McLaren being knocked out of the race. So I think they're looking at that initial contact at the point where Simonsen sort of drove down and Parent had nowhere to go. So it's a question of, are you going to cause an accident, or are you going to give ground and maybe lose some of the benefits of being in the front row of the grid? And he chose to drive down. But whatever the contact between the McLaren and the Mercedes, it may have been a puncture, it may have been a suspension component, it could have been a steering arm or something of that nature, and that's the reason why Alvaro Parent is unable to get this car back to the pits.
Absolutely so. A real shame for Alvaro. There's Wolfgang Reip's car being pulled away, and a real shame for the tall Belgian driver. And there is the road drive Lamborghini being pulled out of the gravel. I imagine
that's come out here. Now maybe there wasn't a front wheel off it. The glimpse that we got, it looked like it may have been, but maybe just as the angle, and
it looks like it can drive back to the pits.
It looks fine. There's nothing wrong with that car at all. It was just the angle of the camera shot, so all it's going to do is shred gravel. You know, drive on the racing line, old boy. Don't mind the rest of your competitors. Look at the gravel. Is the guy an idiot?
So there he goes down into the Masters box, and then back around the circuit.
Shredding gravel and whatever else you can think of right on the racing line. You know, some people are born silly. I can't make any further comment on this one.
The Marshal's doing a great job of sweeping away all the dust put out there by Matthias Stumpf, and I presume that will be. Well, actually, no, he may well be allowed to continue in this race, because we saw an example, didn't we, in Nogaro, where one of the Audis ended up in the gravel. They were pulled out by the Marshals and allowed to continue. So,
but it will undoubtedly have to come into the pit lane. If it doesn't, then I'm not going to say any more, because it will just get a bit unnecessary. So we see the safety car still out on track. We haven't even had 8 minutes of this race. We've had on the 4th lap, of which 2 have been under the safety car, and 2 have been effectively racing laps. In fact, 1.5 racing laps, but 2 by the time safety car was deployed to remove those 3 cars from the gravel and from the inside the Corvette, clearly having the worst of the damage with that left rear corner. You can see the rear wheel. There's the Lamborghini finally into the pits, and the driver undoubtedly will look up and say, "Why? What did I do wrong? What's wrong? I don't know what I've done wrong."
So in they come to check the car over. Matthias Stumpf at the wheel, and they're saying no, time to oh no, they're saying yes. That shows you how good my Portuguese is. As Matthias Stumpf heads back out into the race.
All the gravel's out of the underside of the car, because it's all on the line as they come up into Master Corner and then down into turn 7.
So there was all sorts of bodywork off there, so that will be why that's what probably looked like a wheel, I imagine, as the Duncan Houseman. Such a shame for the Corvette team, because it's great to have them here, their home race, but problems in qualifying and now a retirement on the first lap of this race, and that looks like quite major rear suspension damage, really.
Well, there's certainly rear suspension. That we know the left rear corner is pointing in the wrong direction. Substantial amount of bodywork damage around the rear valance and bodywork, and then a bit in the front as well. So when you get a car coming for the first time during the series, a Corvette are always welcome. They always add something to the glamour of European GT racing with an American thoroughbred like the Corvette. So to see it out of the race so early is disappointing.
So the cars make their way along the start-finish straight past our commentary box. The race leader is Laurens Vanthoor. Somewhere in the initiation of the safety car, René Rast got past Andreas Simonsen and up into second place. So it's a WRT 1-2. Simonson's in 3rd place and is also leading the Pro-Am category. Alain Coder is in 4th place in the Team Brazil BMW, which is their certainly best position they've held in a race so far this season. 5th place is Alan Day, who, after starting in 4th on the grid, will be a little bit disappointed. I think he must have got a bit mugged at the start. 6th position, Frank Stippler. 7th position, 2nd in Pro-Am, is the Audi, the red and white machine just coming through shot now of Carlos Vieira. Fabio Anidi lost a lot of ground as well. He's down in 8th place. Baumann 9th. Mike Parisi is in 10th place. And so the big losers really from that first lap were Alan Day and Fabio Anidi, really, as the safety car continues. Hopefully it should be coming in this lap.
Well, the track has been cleared very quickly by the efficient marshals here in Zandvoort, so let's hope that this is the safety car's last lap. 49 minutes of the race remaining. The lights are still on the safety car. They probably won't be switched off until we get further around the lap, and then once they're off, everybody has to wait in line until they come across the safety car line before the start-finish, after which point they can then start re-racing.
It all looks clear around there, doesn't it? But it's where that Corvette has been towed to at the moment, because they were in the process of removing it. It might have to wind its way all the way around through to the infield. Oh, there it is. They've left it there. So surely then we're clear, and we can go again. So we've seen Wolfgang Reip out of the race, which is a real shame. Emily's found his teammate, Mark Jositsky.
Mark, do you know what happened?
No, I don't know exactly what happened. It's some contact. You can see it, 3 cars on the gravel in turn 7. So yeah, unfortunately, I think we finished qualifying race today early. We will try tomorrow. Why not?
Thank you.
Time for the beach, Mark. And there you can see Duncan Houseman sitting by the side of the track. He needs to move away from the Armco because the safety car will be in this lap and racing will be back underway. So it's all about Van Thor and Rast at the top of the field. Now, Van Thor is in a great position because, well, I don't know. We've seen WRT let their Audis race in the past. Van Thor leads the championship. Rast is 4th in the championship. Van Thor's really backing up the pack now, and in a minute he'll bolt and everyone will have to try and follow him. There he goes. Andreas Simonsen was asleep and he's going to be under pressure from Alain Coder. Carlos Vieira was even more asleep as the race gets back underway. Laurens Van Thor leading the way for WRT Audi as we continue racing here at Zandvoort in the FIA GT Series qualifying race. Is there going to be a move for 3rd? Coder looks out, but the BMW struggles a little bit in a straight line. Frank Stippler is challenging behind, but the red and white Mercedes is Andreas Simonsen. The blue and white BMW behind is the Brazilian Alain Coder.
Well, we haven't any further news as to whether Simonsen is going to receive a penalty or not for the incident in turn 1 where contact with Alvaro Parent. In the meantime, he is racing in 3rd place, and I'm sure he'll be disappointed that he let that 2nd place go so easily to René Rast in the 2nd place Audi.
Carlos Vieira is starting to form a bit of a queue. Onidi, Baumann, Parisi behind him, and Seyfarth is looking a bit racy, trying to get past Parisi. Jan Seyfarth is in the big Mercedes. Oh, someone running wide through there. No dramas at the moment, but there's a bit of gravel being kicked up.
Well, there's gravel on the side of the track from the,
that's true, yeah.
From the whatever it was being towed back, or the Lamborghini when it made its way back.
Yeah.
But also maybe just one car runs wide. It is very powdery on the edge of the racetrack at turn 5 and 6, really it is. So combination of both off track just kicking it up. But well, they've got this race back underway. Everything looks a lot more controlled than it was.
Have we got a problem for Alex Buncombe? He's going very slowly. This Nissan coming through shot now.
Well, it sounds like it's on about 4 cylinders.
We're on board with him, and I think a difficult day for RJ and Nissan. It's got a little bit more difficult. There is the battle then, and that is has everyone. That's the Phoenix Audi in there behind Jan Seyfarth. So Seyfarth is all over the back then of the Lamborghini in front of it. Here comes the challenge from Frank Stippler, trying to get past Alan Day going down into Tarzan. This is the battle over 5th place.
And of course, typical here in Zandvoort, car under threat will always go to the right-hand side of the racetrack to defend the entry into Tarzan, and there's not an awful lot you can do. Other than if you're at least side by side on the entry, you might think about going around the outside, but the car on the inside can always control the situation by running up the racetrack, forcing you really to give up your position.
They come towards the fast right-hander at turn 5, Skyflock. Then into the Masters box corner. There is all sorts of dust, you're right. It's just from where the Lamborghini came back onto the circuit. Duncan Houseman's car there sitting by the side of the track. And now what can Frank Stippler do? He wants to try and well, there's Alex Buncombe. Stippler trying to get 5th place, and they're looking at the rear right. So maybe a puncture or so. It didn't look like the car was necessarily handling poorly, did it? It sounded like it was poorly.
To me, it sounded like it was losing a couple of cylinders, but there is the issue.
Well,
the right rear has, probably as a consequence, with all the gravel and stone chips that were dragged on when the Lamborghini came back to the pits. And that's one of the downsides of inconsiderate driving from a car that has been off track, that it drives back online. And Alex Buncombe, unfortunately, appears to have been a victim of that.
Laurens Van Thor leads across the line with still 44 minutes to go. And he is only 0.4 of a second clear of René Rast behind him. Rast took 0.3 of a second out of Van Thor's advantage on that last lap. Still, Frank Stippler's unable to get past Alan Day in this battle over 5th position. And they're all not really queuing up too badly behind Alain Coder.
Yeah, but remember, look at watching this battle for the lead. René Rast on the last lap set fastest first sector time to close down. Really isn't going to get an awful lot closer to Laurens van Voor in the lead Audi, unless he can actually make a realistic move, make it stick, not just sort of stick it up the inside and hope that Van Voor is going to give ground. So on some parts of the track, René Rast does look to be marginally quicker than the race leader, Laurens van Voor.
Andreas Simonsen still holding that third place, now fairly comfortable. He's got 1 point, well, he's just at the fastest first sector actually. He's just done a 44.7, so very good.
Yeah, the reason is that Laurens van Voor's pace is actually marginally slower than that of René Rast in second place, and that's actually having the knock-on effect of allowing the third place Andreas Simonsen to close up to this battle between the two WRT Audis.
Alain Coder still running in fourth place. There's Pierre Dieudonné watching on in the pit lane as his two men go head-to-head.
Wise old owl, Pierre Dieudonné. He will be fully aware of what's going on. He'll be watching the lap times. If he feels that the Mercedes is actually making a run to the lead Audis, you know, there may be one of those slightly disguised messages, such as, Laura, René is quicker than you. You know what I mean?
Across the line they come. The gap was 4/10. It is now up to half a second, but it's as near as makes no difference, really. Only a couple of hundredths of a second, and it's a drive-through penalty for Andreas Simonsen. We'll look at that in a minute, because here's Onidi and Baumann battling, coming into Tarzan. Baumann thinks, I'll have a go around the outside. That's going to be an optimistic one, and he can't quite pull it off, but that's the battle over 8th position. Baumann has got past Mike Parisi then, so that Lamborghini in the hands of Dominic Baumann is driving very nicely indeed.
And again, looks to be the quicker of the two cars directly ahead, and the move he tried to make around the outside of Tarzan. Again, he's got better drive off the Hugenholz hairpin bend to try and put himself in position, but through these series of Robert Schlottemacher curves, there's no room to do it, and that's allowing Mike Parisi now to try and look at a comeback to try and displace the Lamborghini, which just got ahead of the McLaren on a couple of three corners before.
So Andreas Simonsen, then, the third place man, is going to have a drive-through penalty because of that collision at turn 1, which there was plenty of space for him to go further wide. Oh, Jan Seyfarth going under the grass, going down into the hairpin at turn 7. Keeps it all together, though. But that's a real shame for Simonsen, because it's not only going to drop him out of an overall podium position, but it'll also drop him out of the Pro-Am class lead, which will promote Carlos Vieira into the Pro-Am class lead. And in fact, that rather neatly means that Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini battle we were just watching will be the overall Pro-Am class lead battle. But this is the overall race lead battle, and in Pro Cup, championship leaders leading the way at the moment. And there is Andreas Simonsen. Will he come in this lap, or will he try and stay out for as many laps as possible? Probably the latter.
Okay, we're just getting information that actually the Corvette of Duncan Huisman is also under investigation for the incident that we saw those three cars off. So he may well be perceived to have been the perpetrator of that little three-car exercise.
Yep, race control have got CCTV all around the circuit, so they'll have no doubt been able to find it somewhere in the archives as the race leaders come around Hugenholz and then head back out through this fantastic, fast section of circuit. Best part of the circuit, in my opinion, when you're watching from down there, is just phenomenal. The speed these cars are taking.
It is so quick through there, even in these GT cars. It's just about flat out until they get to the crest before they dip down into turn 5. And you know, it is one of those wonderful racetracks with such great history. And I mean, why we don't have corners today as they designed back in the early 50s, I don't know. And I mean, certainly before they introduced the shortened version of the circuit that we're now racing on, there were further corners around the back through the sand dunes, which were real white knuckle rides. I mean, you were holding on as it tippy-toed around on the limit of a niche with a sandy surface to boot.
So first and second places make their way out the back of the paddock and then towards the final corner. It's a complete role reversal for Laurens van Voor, because the last race in Zolder, in the main race, he was chasing down Stefan Rosina. As we see Edvard Samstrom getting ready to take over from Frank Stippler. That's the car down in 6th place. Into the pits comes Andreas Simonsen to serve his drive-through penalty. And yeah, so Van Voor was attacking last time out in Zolder. Here, he's the man having to defend. Simonsen comes through.
And as a consequence of the drive-through, that gives the two lead Audis a 4-second break before getting out, and the BMW comes up in 3rd place. But in the meantime, Frank Stippler suddenly has gone fastest in that second sector. He's been rather bogged. No, it's not Stippler, in fact.
It was Simonson, actually, wasn't it?
Simonson, yes. So Simonson on his in-lap, I beg your pardon, had to conclude that fastest second sector. So again, the two Audis basically maintaining station, but the pace of the Mercedes in that section was good.
This promotes Alam Coder up into third place, and this is now the battle over the final podium position. Alam Coder in the, well, we're back with the leaders now as we fly down into the right-hander, and differing lines being taken. René Rast trying to take the wider lines into the corners. Pretty similar through there.
I mean, it's pretty clear to me that René Rast has got more pace with his Audi, whatever the setup is, than Lawrence Van Thor, who's leading. Van Thor saying probably, well, I don't need to go any quicker, I'm in the lead, and my co-partner, teammate, whomever, can't overtake me. Usual story, but René Rast, no doubt, will be feeling that he is being held up, and he wants to get ahead and take victory, or certainly give his car, hand his car over when it comes to the driver changes, to ensure that that car goes back out into the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. So Van Thor will be handing over to Stefan Ortelli. Rast will be handing over to Nicky Melnov, and Stippler will be handing over to that man there, Edward Sandstrom. As we come down the start-finish straight, nosing up the inside, Rast just to, as if Van Thor didn't know he was there already, just to give him something to think about on the braking zone into Tarzan.
Well, you can see the difference on the last 3 laps. I mean, they're only hundredths of a second difference, but that's simply because when you run in somebody else's speed or momentum, then you're just having to sit there, and all you can do is you can drop back by a second and then make that run again, get your own pace, and try and combine that pace with the part of the track where Van Thor's car is not quite so quick. But Van Thor's going to have it pretty covered. He's not going to make it easy for the second place René Rast.
So we've got Carlos Vieira leading the Pro-Am class, currently in 6th position. Onidi second in that class, and Baumann third in that class. Those guys all running together on the circuit. Andreas Simonsen has done the fastest middle sector of anyone, and Alex Buncombe has just done the fastest first sector of anyone. And well, was that a planned move, do you think? That's an interesting one, because Van Thor went very wide into the corner, and now René Rast is in the lead of this race as they come down into the S's. It looked to me as though that might have been a bit of team play from Audi, because when Rast hands over to Meyer Melnhoff, it could be said that Ortelli is probably a quicker driver than Nicky Melnhoff. So are we going to have role reversed again? It'll be interesting to see.
Yes, it was. I mean, that was clearly...
and off goes the Ferrari. Fabio Onidi off down to the S's, and he's beached in the gravel, unfortunately. He's going to need a push. So he was battling with Dominic Baumann and Carlos Vieira. And I presume there was contact with 1 or 2 of those cars. It's all action-packed here in the dunes. Alam Coder still running in 3rd place then. It's difficult to tell from the timing screens who the contact with was, because Vieira is still in the lead of Pro-Am with Baumann behind. And Mike Parisi now is up into 8th place, Jan Seyfarth 9th, and Sergio Jimenez up into 10th. But look at that. René Rast is starting to pull away now, isn't he?
Well, I mean, in fairness, we did pick that up early in the race. The pace of René Rast was being inhibited ultimately by the pace of Lawrence Van Thor. And now that the overtake has been executed, albeit probably with the benefit of a bit of assistance from the pit lane, René Rast has opened up almost a second of a gap, and it's probably going to extend very shortly. So
there is Edward Sandstrom. Andreas Simonsen again goes purple in sector 1. He's out there proving a point, really, and he's almost on the back of this pack. So Simonsen could be one to watch as he fights his way through the field. The pit window is open. I imagine René Rast will stay out for as long as possible. And well, there's the yellow flags as Onidi gets out of his Ferrari down at the S's. A real shame for AF Corsa, because they were performing very, very strongly indeed. For the first time this season, really. I mean, they've been fine in Nagaro and in Zolder, but not really up towards the front of the Pro-Am guys. Across the line then, the gap is 1.2 seconds now. Into the pits comes the Mercedes and the Audi. So Alan Day and Frank Stippler coming in. This is going to be a straight battle in the pits now.
Interestingly, in third place, Alain Cadet is, I would say, marginally, maybe just look at the last lap times he did. The gap between first and third is just under 4 seconds when it had been over 4 seconds a couple of laps before. But the pace of the two Audis in the 141s, the high 141s, nobody else is at that pace. They're all running in the middle to high 142s.
Yeah, absolutely. Alain Cadet was the quickest man on the track that last time around, so BMWs may well have some pace. Now, when we came into the pits, the Mercedes was ahead of the Audi. Is that going to be the case here? Out goes the WRT. No, comfortably. The WRT has taken that position away. Normally HDP are pretty quick in the pit stops, so that'll be a disappointment as Alan Day hands over to Maximilian Buch. Buch now out on circuit, so that is ultimately a move for fourth position. We've also got the Pro-Am battle going on here. Carlos Vieira, oh, watch out, those two. That was all right. But Carlos Vieira has lost the lead of Pro-Am to the Lamborghini in front of Dominic Baumann, who's now handed over to his teammate Harry Prochik. So that Cesar Campanico-driven Audi R8 is now second, I believe, in Pro-Am. We'll have to wait till the pit stop window closes to figure it all out, but there we go. There's our race leader, René Rast. Vanthor in second, Cadet in third, as you say, John, lapping quicker, certainly on that last lap, than the two Audis in front.
Yes, and that's just going to keep keep Audi aware that while they've got a comfortable grip of this 1 hour race, they should not, under any circumstances, ignore what's going on with BMW in third place, because that car, lap upon lap, well, on the last lap, in fact, René Rast upped the pace again at 141.9, and Cadet was at 42.4, and Laurens Vanthor was within a tenth of a second of that. So the two Audis are in control, but nevertheless, good run from the BMW, from the Brazilian boys in third place.
Mike Parisi's just on the fastest lap of anyone on that last lap. Not the fastest lap of anyone, but he was the quickest man on circuit last lap, which is impressive for the Sebastian Loeb Racing McLaren team. Up into fourth place is Parisi, but he's yet to make his pit stop. Maximilian Buch has done a purple middle sector on his outlap. He'll have fresh tyres on board, of course, but nevertheless, an impressive time. As we see Alain Cadet in the car he shares with Caca Bueno in third place. The gap is now down to 2.8 seconds between Vanthor and Cadet, as René Rast continues to extend his lead up at the front. Oh, here's the replay then. Baumann on the outside gives the Ferrari plenty of room, and then coming into this left-hander, oh.
Well, you know, it's a question of not really being far enough up when the Ferrari was making the cut back from going right to turning left, and that's one of those situations which was avoidable. But you know, when you're in that car in that situation, you're saying, well, I was alongside. I know I was alongside, but in reality, that wasn't the case.
Pit stop window open. René Rast stays out. Maximilian Buch does a purple sector 2, 3 and 1, but into the pits comes Laurens Vanthor then. They're going to try and get the undercut with the fresh tyres, and Stefan Otelli at the wheel. Also in comes Alain Cadet to hand over to Caca Bueno. Now this will be a nice pit lane fight. We haven't really, because BMW haven't been running up at the front, we haven't really seen their pit stop prowess so far this season. So
well, you know, it's actually lovely warm weather today.
Exactly, and we're
just
by the
like
beach.
Brazil. And I think, you know, when the weather's warm and the sun's out, I think it really does help the Brazilians.
We could be at the Copacabana now. I can't even say it, but there's Stefan Otelli taking over from Laurens Vanthor.
And in the meantime, Maximilian Buch, fastest first sector time, fastest second sector time. Down at ninth place, he is just 5 seconds behind Sandstrom in the.
Away goes the Audi.
Easy.
Way clear. Way clear.
In fact, when it's all nets out, the difference in the gap between the third, what were second and third place, probably going to be around about the same time, maybe a second, maybe at worst, behind. So good job by Team BMW Brazil.
So Maximilian Buch does a 1 minute 40.4 on that last lap, one of the quickest laps we've seen in the race so far. So let's not discount that Mercedes, although they did have a slow pit stop, didn't they? But there is our leader, René Rast. How long will he stay out for? I imagine he may come in this lap or the next.
Next lap, I would say. He will stay out until the last moment, and therefore when he hands over to Nicky Manhoff, he will give him the short stint. And what he is going to try and do is use the clear air that he's got to build as much as he possibly can to ensure that the gap at the point he peels off for the pit lane and hands over to Mayor Manhoff, that makes his life easier.
But he's doing 42.3s, whereas Vanthoor will probably be in the 40s, so that's the kind of balance that WRT have got to manage here.
Or it'll be Ortelli, won't it?
Yeah, it'll be Ortelli when he gets in the car.
Well, that again, that's down to the team. They've got to measure the time on track against the time against a car that has just gone back out with fresh rubber. Alex Buncombe has handed over to Adoniath. Wait for the transponder to be switched. It should be.
They're saying wait, they're saying stop. Whoa!
Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference between doing it on the GT Academy. If you have an incident in the pit lane, it doesn't damage the car, but the unsafe releases are a major issue with every team to make sure that they do what they need to do correctly. Oh, so, Ferrari.
So, what's happened there? Is it?
Well, it's at 90 degrees to the track. Whether that's driver-induced,
oh, yeah, there we go.
There was another bit of contact. We saw the contact a few laps earlier with the Lamborghini, but that time looks to me as if maybe just rode the curb with the right rear and the thing snapped around.
It doesn't look as though he's actually gone into the barrier at any point. So
no, he didn't. He just got the car, I think, made a quick snap on fresh rubber and just got caught out.
That's good news for an ED. Ricardo Zonta is in the pits again, so that's the third pit stop, I think, for the 21 BMW, which is a real shame, as we see René Rast continuing, and this time lapping the Jan Stovicek car, and Rast will stay out for one more lap. That's his last chance, and they're hoping to give Niki Meermanov a big enough lead that the German driver will then be able to defend it when he takes over from René at the end of this lap. Mike Parisi's still in second place then. He hasn't come in yet to hand over to Andreas Zuber. In fact, lapped quicker than René Rast on that last lap by 0.7 of a second. So that's impressive stuff from Parisi. He comes into the pits now. Melroy Heemskerk has come into the pits behind in that Team India BMW to hand over to Arman Ibrahim. They are second, and so they're the last of our stoppers apart from René Rast.
So Andreas Zuber opens the door. Mike Parisi is about to get strong. Mike Parisi gets out, and Zuber is going to get in. We see Niki Meermanov waiting for his car, the car that took control of this race 6-7 or so laps ago. René Rast always looked the quicker of the two Audis that were in the lead positions, and he's just done all he can do to give the best gap between what would be, as we wait and see while this field filters through, and then we get this final pit stop out of the way. Almost the last car to make a pit stop is the lead Audi of René Rast.
So Andy Zuber goes out of the pits. There goes Arman Ibrahim. Zuber filters out. Well, we'll have to wait and see actually, but here's René Rast anyway, coming through the S's, and he will have to come in on this lap, there's no doubt about it, as Carlos, no, that's the Phoenix Audi, sorry, coming into the pits of Anthony Kumpen to hand over to Enzo Eid. Sorry, other way around. Enzo Eid coming in to hand over to Anthony Kumpen as Rast comes into the pits now then. And his last lap was a 42.8. Stefan Ortelli did a 41.9. He was a second quicker, so this is going to be very close, I think, between the two WRT Audis at the front of the field. Rast comes in, painfully slow in the pit lane.
Yeah, 60 kilometers an hour, but he has done a good job for his teammates. So pit stop, René Rast, the smaller of the two drivers, the seated Phil is taken out. Niki Meermanov gets in. Driver assists with the belts being fitted, but there is that car that could potentially take the lead. Stefan Ortelli behind the wheel. Wheels still being changed. This is going to be a close call for Niki Meermanov. Will he get out before? He's moving now. Get it going, Niki, because you're at the end of the pit lane. Accelerate flat out. He might. Yes, he's got it.
He has.
And the gap is more or less status quo.
But I don't think it will be by the end of this lap, because Ortelli is up to speed, and I think he'll close in on Niki fairly quickly. Who's in third place then? Edward Sandstrom. So it's a WRT 1-2-3, it's turned out. Maximilian Buch is in fourth place. Kaka Bueno is down into fifth position.
Look how cautious Meermanov was coming into the Hulgenholz hairpin bend. You could see he was feeling the car, looking to find out where the bite, the grip was. René Rast gets a handshake from his team. He knows he's done a good job. So it is all very tentative at the minute on this opening lap for Niki Meermanov.
Maximilian Buch in the blue and silver Mercedes is doing a great job. Really good pace from him. He has got a best lap quicker a second quicker than Edward Sandstrom in front of him now, and they're battling over third place.
Yeah, and Edward Sandstrom is under serious threat from the pace of Maximilian Buch in the Mercedes-Benz. Where he's going to make that a pass, well, we've seen people come down the inside. We saw the two lead Audis do it. In this instance, there is no favour been given by Edward Sandstrom, and rightly so. Maximilian Buch is going to have to find out somewhere around the racetrack where he can make that pass easily, but importantly cleanly. Looks to go down the inside into the S's, but Sandstrom is able to cover that without any difficulty. And now, and the acceleration, Buch using a lot of the curve on the inside to try and maximise his acceleration off the S's, then the run down to the Kumu corner, third gear corner, then accelerating, then just up, depending on the state of your tyres, just about flat out through the Ari Lyondike curve.
Across the line comes Nicky Meyer-Melnhof then. The gap is just 0.6 of a second between first and second as they dive down into Tarzan. Impressively, Sergei Afanasiev and Andreas Simonsen are back into the lead of Pro-Am despite that drive-through penalty. They're running in 7th place overall. Karun Chandok is in 8th place. Here's a replay of, oh, that is Sergei Afanasiev, just as I was saying what a great job he's doing. He's had a little off.
I mean, I tell you, he was very lucky coming into the Hooker Hulsheppen bend. A slow corner, but he just ran wide, and that little quick flick to the right, the Garlic corner.
Harry Prochik and Aman Ibrahim.
Well, we've seen that Lamborghini being involved in incidents with the Ferrari. At the same point, this time the Lamborghini was on the inside, so if there's any complaint, he can say, well, I tried it on the inside, I tried it on the outside. Battle for third place, getting very intense.
Yeah, that contact we saw was in second over second in Pro-Am. Fabio Onidi has come into the pits and retired from the race, unfortunately, in that Ferrari. Little nose up the inside from Maximilian Buch, the reigning GT3 European champion with HDP. Looks up the inside again, just trying to put off Edward Sandstrom in front. And that's the great thing about these corners, is it's such a wide circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got an option on lines, and you can take your own preferred line. You may actually open up an opportunity for somebody to stick their car down the inside, but Maximilian Buch and the Mercedes not sufficiently alongside the Audi at the point where the turn in would occur, and therefore the Audi is able to continue the line, and then because he's taking a late entry and a tighter exit, he can take his line.
21 minutes to go. The battle for the lead of the race is between this man we're on board with, Stefan Ortelli, and Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in front of him. The two teammates cross the line, and they are only 0.3 of a second apart. Third place is Edward Sandstrom. The guys behind are lapping a couple of tenths of a second quicker. Through goes Ortelli. Meyer-Melnhof gave him plenty of room, and Stefan Ortelli moves into the lead of the race. The number 11 Audi back in front.
Yes, and you almost think that that was Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. Oh, when he runs wide, Ortelli gets it all wrong. And, well, that looked a bit scary.
This is all going to allow third and fourth places to close in as well. I expect Stefan Ortelli to pull clear now, but I think we could see second, third and fourth getting very, very close to one another with 20 minutes to go here at Zandvoort.
Just wonder if when Ortelli got past Meyer-Melnhof, he may have gone slightly offline, picked up a little bit of the residue around the racetrack, and that's why when he got down to the hairpin, or up the corner before the hairpin, he just ran wide, and of course as a consequence he's got even more dust and dirt onto that tyre, so he's having to be very cautious. The field is now a two-car race, now it's turned into a four-car race.
Absolutely.
This
Great
time,
stuff here.
Mercedes, he's done it.
Yeah, good move from Maximilian Buch. He moves up into the third position now and starts to hunt down Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in front of him. Great stuff from Maximilian Buch. Pulled off a cracker of a move at Paul Ricard 1 week ago in the Blancpain Endurance Series. It was like Hakkinen on Schumacher with Zonta in the middle at Spa in '99. It was very similar to that kind of manoeuvre, and he's pulled off another clever move now because he signposted the move on the last lap, but Edward Sandstrom didn't see it coming, and Buch's up into third, and he'll be right on the back of Meyer-Melnhof.
I think what Sandstrom has been doing, was looking forward to the Ortelli's or Meyer-Melnhof's car, thinking about where am I going to try and make my move. Maybe he slightly forgot about the pace of the Mercedes out of turn 7, the acceleration short and straight up into turn 8. This time he was in the position to take the third place away from Edward Sandstrom, and well, that's motor racing, and that's the skill of recognising when you can and when you cannot overtake.
Here is Andreas Zuber in 6th place with the HDP car of Sergei Afanasiev all over the back of him. These two are in different classes. Zuber in Pro, Afanasiev in Pro-Am, and it is actually Afanasiev who is the Am in that pairing. He's a silver ranked driver, even though he's got plenty of single-seater experience. And look at this, it's all closing up for second place. And Ortelli's not scarpering as much as I thought he might do, you know.
No, he's not at all. And what's interesting is that Maximilian Buch is already lining up Nicky Meyer-Melnhof to do what he did a lap ago to Edward Sundstrom. Not able to do it this time, but that's going to be the turn 8 is the part of the racetrack that the Mercedes looks like it's got a slight advantage over the Audi. Now the Audi may well have to start altering its line to persuade he looks to go down the inside into the S's again, not sufficiently far up to make that move stick. So wisely gets out of it, thinks about it again, accelerates hard out of the S's, down to the Kumo corner. Nothing really to do here, all about the exit of this corner and now the Ari Lyondike curve. And this is where you can begin to pick up speed and maybe think about, well, am I close enough to the Audi on this main straight down into the Tarzan hairpin? At this moment, no.
So 5 or 6 tenths of a second separating each of the cars in this queue, and Ortelli was no quicker than Meyer-Melnhof on that last lap. Well, technically he was 0.003 of a second quicker, but as near as makes no difference. So if Buch can get past Meyer-Melnhof, he should have the pace to close down an Ortelli, but we've got 17.5 minutes to go here. And Meyer-Melnhof is a feisty character. Alan Day, the man who started that #1 car. But Meyer-Melnhof, yeah, feisty character. Feisty in the car, feisty out of the car. As they come up to the very quick right-hander at Skyflock. Then down into the Masters box. Pretty close. Is this going to be the moment? Because this is the corner coming up here. Turn 8, wide line in. Try and get as good a run out as possible. Will Meyer-Melnhof cover the inside? He doesn't, but I don't think Buch is quite close enough still.
No, he's not. He's not able to just get that little bit of additional momentum off turn 7 in the run-up to turn 8 to put the Mercedes on the inside, as we saw him do a few laps ago with Edward Sundstrom. But nonetheless, again, watching, he looked to come out from behind the Audi on the run down into the S's, but realised not enough position to make it stick. Again, has to fall back. Try not to run too close behind the Audi because you lose your own momentum. He wants to rebuild that momentum now out of the Kuho corner. Everybody here running pretty much at the same pace. So from the point that they come onto the straight, nobody's gaining and nobody's really losing. Maybe the Mercedes fractionally closer to the back of the Audi of Meyer-Melnhof looks, just threatens, not really attempting to, but just distracting the Audi driver to try and make him think about what's going on behind rather than focusing on what he needs to do ahead.
Just under 16 minutes remaining, and we've got 2 seconds covering the top 4 here in the qualifying race for the 3rd round of the FIA GT Series here in the Netherlands. Up they go, out of the Hugenholtz hairpin, through the Slotmacher S's that take the cars away from the main pit complex here, then up into this very fast right-hander. Nothing really doing just yet for Max Buch, but he's getting closer and closer. Looks up the inside going into this right-hander. Oh, that's compromised him. Here comes Stippler. No, not quite close to Sandstrom, I should say. But he had that little nose up the inside into Masters box, and that's compromised him.
He was very quick out of turn 5 and got the run. Had a thought about going inside into Master corner, but it's a difficult corner because you don't see the apex. You've got to go for it before you see it. And by doing so, by making that move down the inside, he did compromise himself momentarily, allowed Edward Sandstrom the thought that, well, is he going to get it wrong? Am I going to get a chance to regain my 3rd place? But again, look a little bit closer to this. It slid in the mid part of the corner. So maybe Maximilian Buch is just pushing the Mercedes and the Pirelli tyres that little bit too hard, and the mistakes beginning to creep in again. Ran very wide on the exit coming out of Kumo corner, and maybe we're seeing the best of the Mercedes, and what we've got now is what we're going to see for the remaining 14 minutes.
Yep, across the line they come, and Stefan Ortelli extends his gap at the front up to 1.2 seconds, because Meyer-Melnhof and Buch, with their battling, have just started to slow down a little bit. 42.5s for them, whereas Ortelli did a 42.1. Down into Hugenholtz. And let's see, it's through that Skyflock corner that the Mercedes is quick. So let's watch him this time around. Hopefully if he is quick through, he won't get distracted and try and have a kind of half-hearted look in Masters corner. Here we come then, through the right-hander. Now he just needs to keep his calm, Maximilian Buch, and he's not as close this time as he was previously.
Well, he sort of showed his hand a little bit by doing that a lap ago, and consequently he's had to reassess what he can do. The place he's going to get it done, I think, is going to be into turn 8, but not on this particular occasion. And I just wonder whether, with the charge up through the field, as I mentioned one lap ago, is this the best we're going to see of the Mercedes? And for Nicky Meyer-Melnhof, he's sort of beginning to be able to maybe breathe a little bit more easily as the pace of the Mercedes is beginning to taper off. And first of all, it lets the lead car of Stefano Telli open up that gap just over a second from the second place out in the teammate Nicky Meyer-Melnhof. And the Mercedes pretty much status quo.
Out onto the start-finish straight to complete the 25th lap, and on that last lap, Meyer-Melnhof and Buch were quicker than Stefano Telli. I really expected Stefan to have a bit more pace than this. There's only a second now between first and second places. Edward Sundstrom's dropping back now in the 13 Audi. He's a second behind the second and third place battle, but it's all kind of coming back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Mercedes running slightly wider in the Hogenholz hairpin than we've seen on previous occasions. Gets it all back together, then this run through the Stuttermacher curves up the hill, looking, it's a blind approach as you come into turn 5, and then the car swoops down, picks up the apex, runs the curve the whole way around. Great corner, my favourite corner on this revised Zandvoort circuit. Again, watching to see Maximilian Buch takes a different approach this time. Looks to go down the inside into turn 7. Haven't seen him attempt that before, but wasn't again anywhere in position to make it stick. So it just indicates he's thinking about it as he's driving the lap. Try and maybe catch second place Audi unexpectedly in a corner where have not yet shown any interest in making an overtake.
Maximilian Buch driving very nicely indeed at the moment. He's unable to make the move stick just yet, but it's impressive nevertheless. The young 20-year-old from Rheinbeck in Germany, he's got very little race car experience. He started in 2010, did 2 years in Formula Masters in Germany, and then his first GT season was last year when he won the GT3 championship. Here's a look at 6th and 7th places. Andreas Zuber battling with Sergei Afanasiev, and that number 2 Mercedes is leading the Pro-Am class at the moment. So they're doing a good job, and they're trying to do an even better job by getting past Andy Zuber.
Well, obviously they feel they can run quicker, the headlights are flashing. I'm sure Andy Zuber is unimpressed by that, and they are running in 2 different categories. So there's no real urgency for the Mercedes to get ahead, other than just simply they're both racing drivers and they want to finish ahead of each other.
Through the Hugenholz hairpin they come, and up in the battle for second, we're into the section of the circuit where Buch is strong, and he looks relatively close this time around. Sends it in nice and deep. Just needs to get that acceleration, which isn't quite coming for him. Out of turn 7, this left-hander, the actual name for this left-hander at turn 8 is Dutch for corner with no name. I won't disgrace the Dutch language and try and say it as they come down into the S's.
Well, I leave that one to the lead commentator to try and get his tongue around, but battle for third place. And now we're seeing Maximilian Buch, I should say, flashing the lights to try and put pressure again onto Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in the second place Audi. He's tried pretty much everything else, and you know, maybe it will work. See how close these first 3 cars are. The gap is under a second now, 0.745, 3/4 of a second first to second, 1.5 seconds first to third, and 2.2 seconds first to fourth.
These last 4 laps, Meyer-Melnhof has been quicker than Stefano Telli, so this is going to be a very interesting final 9 minutes here in Zandvoort. Into the hairpin, great place to watch from there, because you can get pretty much where that camera is, right up against the Armco barrier. You see the cars battling through there. Oh, little run wide on the grass. Thought that was going to be a bigger moment than it was in the end for Maximilian Buch. Just put 2 wheels on the grass. There's Alan Day. He's probably, I don't think he's ever had as many close-ups as he had today. And he is watching as his teammate Maximilian Buch tries to get past Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff. Nothing doing just yet. They're catching up to Lucas Ordóñez in the Nissan.
No, it's incumbent upon Ordóñez to get out of the way of this group of 4 cars all battling for the top 3 podium spots. So just where they will catch the Nissan will be very important to Ortelli, but also Meyer-Melnhoff and Maximilian Buch. Edward Sundstrom will be able to watch it all from the comfort of 4th place, and if there's anything to be picked up, well, he'll be in the perfect position to do that.
Absolutely. Coming around to start the 29th lap of this race. Alex, Lucas Ordóñez is quite a way up the road, actually, so I don't think he will come into too much play as the cars head down into Tarzan once more. 0.7 of a second, pretty much between all 3 cars now. The gaps come down back to 2.2 seconds between the top 4. Still leading Pro-Am is Afanasiev, well clear of Aman Ibrahim, who's 2nd in class in the Team India BMW. Cesar Campanico is 4th in class, but he's only 1/10 of a second clear, actually, of Harry Prochek as they come flashing past my window down the start-finish straight. So that's quite a close battle for the final Pro-Am podium position. But it's this 2nd place scrap that is a fascinating one.
Just watching coming off turn 5, the Mercedes again looks like it's mounting an attack, and whether it's going to be down here in turn 7, no, not close enough. But can he get the momentum sufficiently built up to try and think about down the inside into turn 8? No, but it's the pace of Ortelli really that is the interest for me now, because he has dropped off marginally. I mean, you're talking about 10ths of seconds here and there, and that's allowing this battle for 3rd place to begin to close back up again. There is Ortelli, slides the car into the S's, and again in the middle of the S's you've got that dip where the car is just semi-banked inside of the left-hand part of the S's as we go back on board with the
leading Audi.
Yes, it is, yes.
Stefan Ortelli through the final corner. Pretty smooth as he comes out onto the start-finish straight. Maximilian Buch was 0.4 of a second quicker than him in the 1st sector as we come down into Tarzan. Banked right-hander. Oh, bit of a correction for Ortelli coming through Tarzan.
He's really having just to balance the car on the throttle and steering, even though these cars have got traction control. But the nature of Zandvoort, it is a circuit that does suffer from sand, and you're at the time and I watch this, the Mercedes really close to the back of Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff as they climb up the hill through the Robsrottemacher curves. It looked marginally closer just as they came through the hairpin. Again, the Mercedes closes up to the back of the Audi. Wrong place to dive down the inside. He may have compromised himself in being a little bit too greedy and thinking he'd make that pass, but it indicates the Mercedes still has got the pace into the tight master corner, then the short sprint down to turn 7.
So into the right-hander at 7, then it's the left-hander at 8 that Buch has made his attack so far this weekend, but not this time. He took so much speed coming into the quick right-hander at 5, and I think he kind of saw the moment and went, here's my chance, because there's less than 5 minutes to go here in Zandvoort. Race leader Stefan Ortelli, 2nd place Nicky Meyer-Melnhoff in the Audi, 3rd place that number 1 silver and blue Mercedes SLS. Maximilian Buch at the wheel with Edward Sandstrom in 4th position now. 2 seconds covering the top 4 still. Nerves for Vincent Voss on the pit wall, biting his nails as the cars come around the final corner. You'd think whatever happens they should be able to, well, they'll get at least 2 podiums out of this one, possibly a 3rd if things go well for WRT. They had a 1-2-3 at the opening main race in Nagaro all the way back in April, but look how close. It's the 1st sector where the Mercedes is so strong. That last lap another 2/10 quicker than Ortelli and Mayer-Melnhof. So this is the sequence of corners here from Hugenholtz onwards.
Yes, I mean, you can see the Mercedes gets in slightly tighter, can hold that tighter line on the exit, gets on the throttle. On the exit, the Audi's very good. It gets good drive off the corner. Remember, Audi is mid-engine, the Mercedes is front-engine, but in a sense, pretty much almost similar weight distribution to the Audi. And again, trying to run up to the back of the Audi through turn 5. Tries to get the drive off the corner, but again, to make the pass into Master's corner is a big ask, but in good position.
Yeah.
He's not going to go down the inside into turn 7, is he?
Oh, he's gone for it, Maximilian Buch. Brilliant manoeuvre, and Buch moves up into second place. Wow, what a fantastic move that was. And now here comes Edvard Sandström to go past Nicky Mayer-Melnhof. Mayer-Melnhof will try and hold on, and he just about has. But what a brilliant move from Max Buch. Opportunistic and cleverly done. And now the two WRT Audis go side by side, down into the chicane, trying to get past Edvard Sandström, trying to get past Nicky Mayer-Melnhof, but unable to do so. I don't think. Well, it'll be interesting. Will the Mercedes have enough time to close in on Ortelli? He's got to close in 0.8 of a second or so, and those are the nerves on the pit wall. Great move from Max Buch across the line. The gap was 0.8 of a second. It's now 1.3 because of that overtaking manoeuvre, so Ortelli should have this one wrapped up. Here's a look at the replay then. He was very, very close here, and Buch just forced his way past, didn't he? Way behind, but on the brakes he thought, I'm going for it. All credit to Nicky Mayer-Melnhof, saw him coming, left him room. Mayer-Melnhof then nearly got overtaken by Sandström, but he managed to hold on to that position. Great stuff from Maximilian Buch, and he's up into second place, which will give him some points, but will also give him second on the grid for tomorrow's main race, which is where most of the points come from. René Rast, that man there, led the car. Look how close Buch is. This will be the penultimate lap of the race, and Maximilian Buch is right with Stefan Ortelli. They're closing in on Lucas Ordóñez as well. If Buch can get past here, it'll be a famous victory, because the Mercedes is absolutely on it. He was 0.8 of a second quicker in Sector 1, Maximilian Buch. 0.1 of a second quicker in Sector 2. He's cruised right up to the back of the Audi now. A minute to go, which basically means this will be the penultimate lap, because they're about to head into the final corner. Remember, that HTP Mercedes had a really slow pit stop as well, didn't it? Through the final corner then, the gap was 1.3 seconds when they crossed the line, and now, as they start the final lap, first and second places are separated by 0.4 of a second. We're in for another grandstand finish here in FIA GT. The last race we had Van Thor attacking Rosina, now we've got Buch attacking Ortelli for the race win. Into the right-hander at 2, dropping down into Hugenholtz, and this is where the Mercedes is strong, and this will be where Buch will have to try and make the pass. He's not particularly close to Ortelli through here, but if he can just close in towards the back of the Audi, up into Skyflock, he's pretty close. This is going to be so nervous for Stefan Ortelli. Buch super late on the brakes. The Audi can take a lot more curve than the Mercedes, and I don't think Buch is quite going to have enough here. This is his last real overtaking opportunity, and he's not going to be close enough, Maximilian Buch. Stefan Ortelli should be able to hold on to win this race now. Takes a wide line. He's pushing absolutely everything, is Max Buch, as he comes down into the chicane. And that should be job done now for Stefan Ortelli, because there's not really any more overtaking opportunities left on the circuit. There's not really any more braking points left on the circuit. A little dab on the brakes going into Kumo. And then Arie Luyendyk is the final corner. A strong race from Van Thor and Ortelli. The championship leaders will start on pole position for tomorrow's main race as they take victory here in Zandvoort in the qualifying race. And Maximilian Buch will start in second position after a brilliant drive in his HDP Charouz Mercedes SLS. Nicky Meyer-Manoff, third place. Fourth place for Edward Sandstrom, fifth for Kaka Bueno, sixth place across the line, Andres Zuber, ahead of Pro-Am class winner Sergei Afanasiev. On board with Ortelli, having a little wave. Karun Chandok comes across the line to finish in 8th position, which is their second best result of the season so far. They finished 6th, he and Jan Seyfarth, in the opening race in Nogaro. But it's another win for Ortelli and Van Thorp. They won the qualifying race in Zolder, and now they've won the qualifying race here in Zandvoort. That'll be tough stuff for Stefan Ortelli. I was expecting him to have a little more pace than Nicky Meyer-Manoff, and not really anticipating him being in that position, but it's not how it transpired. But Nicky Meyer-Manoff did a brilliant drive nevertheless, because he kept the pace of Ortelli, held on fairly comfortably really from Edward Sandstrom behind. But René Rast has to be, well, maybe not the driver of the race, because Max Buch did a brilliant job as well. But Rast's pace in that Audi was very impressive indeed. As the teams head up now to Parc Fermé, John Watson has headed down there as well to have a little chat to our race winners. Afanasiev and Simonsen doing a great job to finish 7th overall and win in Pro-Am, especially considering they had to have a drive-through penalty. WRT 134, a very strong team here at FIA GT. And BMW Team Brazil, with their best result of the season so far, 5th place in this qualifying race. So that'll move Rast and Meyer-Manoff up into, I think, 2nd place in the championship, potentially. Ortelli and Van Thorp will still be top, and oh! And well, René Rast here. Here's a look at the results then. Audi 134. Belgian Audi WRT, after a very strong performance. Ortelli and Van Thorp then taking the race win. Buch and Alan Day in 2nd place, 0.7 of a second behind. And then Meyer-Manoff and Rast in 3rd position. And there you can see the BMW Z4. Strong result for them, Kaka Bueno and Alain Coder, but they did benefit from drivers retiring in front of them. I don't think they only finished 6.5 seconds off, actually, so that's not too bad. And their best lap was a 1:41.4, which is well in the mix of the front-running times. Mike Parisi and Andres Zuber saved a little bit of prestige for the Sebastian Loeb Racing team after Alvaro Parent was forced out of the race on the opening lap. 13th place, Lucas Ordóñez and Alex Bunker. Kuna and Stumpf got back into the race and continued to finish in 14th place. Zonta and Jimenez spent a lot of time in the pits and finished in 16th place. And then we had Onidi out of the race in the Ferrari. Huisman, Wright and Parent all out of the race as well. So there is the winning car, Stefan Ortelli climbing out. As Ortelli climbs out to be congratulated by Nicky Meyer-Manoff. And Ortelli says, you're doing a very good job out there. It'll be interesting to hear from Max Buch, because if he could have pulled that move off a few laps previously, it could have been very, very close to taking the race victory. He was close as it was anyway, and I think WRT are going to be in for a royal battle tomorrow. So we can now hear from Stefan Ortelli. There they are, and just off camera is John Watson.
Stefan Ortelli, Laurens Van Thorp, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's tough out there. I think he did most of the job. He did an amazing start. We can be proud, and I have to look carefully what he did today to do it again tomorrow, because it's a very dream start. I'm very sorry for Sebastian Loeb and Alvaro. I mean, they didn't deserve to have this DNF right from the first corner. So I'm sure they will come back tomorrow, and we will have to fight tomorrow. Difficult race. Bravo, Lawrence. Bravo, WRT. Bravo.
Well done. Lawrence, tell us, at the start it was 3 cars into 1 and normally not going to go, but you were in the inside and held the line and got the lead.
I think I had a good reaction on the line and I could come through. I got some help from my teammate behind with some bump drafting. And yeah, there was only a little hole in the first corner, but I was there and I wanted to go for it. And after that, we have to work a bit this evening because the car was very, very difficult to drive. Really problems to just keep it on the track already. So had a not so good car and we won, so I think we can be very, very happy.
Well done, congratulations.
Van Thor and Ortelli then taking the victory and holding the lead of the championship. And really, their main rivals are struggling to score the points. So let's hear from our second place men. Maximilian Boog and Alan Day are now with John.
Alan Day, great drive from you, a stunning drive from your teammate for second place.
Yeah, it was great to see my teammate. It was a pretty nice race to watch and to drive, of course. My start was a bit messy, but yeah, we settled down after a few laps and everything went perfect, you know.
Max, you had a number of goes at trying to get past the second place Audi. You did it. A lovely, lovely pass into turn 7.
Thank you. Yeah, I was all the time very close to him. Never really had the gap, but then he made some mistakes, and then I take the chance, and of course, yeah, went quite well. When I would not have stuck so long behind him, maybe I could have been attack Mr. Ortelli a bit more, but anyway, for tomorrow's race, it's not too bad.
Well, take your second place and enjoy it. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
So they will be starting in second place on the grid tomorrow. They made a good start today, initially, but then got a bit bulked out going down into the first corner. So it was a little bit of a struggle from there on in, but they managed to fight through into second place. So that Mercedes off the line tomorrow is going to be one to watch. So we can now hear from Niki Mauermanhoff, managed to pilot his car to third position, and now he's with John.
Niki, finish up third. Tough race towards the end. The Mercedes just squeezed by.
Yeah, I almost didn't try not to look at him and dare not to look at him because I knew he was fast on the straights, and then I always heard him really loud coming into the first corner, and I was able to defend in the quick parts. And then all of a sudden into turn 7, I think it was, I only heard his big V8, and then it was already too late and I lost the place.
Well, initially you had the lead, then you lost it, then you got it back, and I mean it was a hard race. You were actually at many times lapping quicker than Stefano Ortelli, who won.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. For me, it's such a hard time, but I have such great support from the team, and I learn so much. And for me, it's such a pleasure to drive with these guys, but it's so much pressure on me to also with René, who takes great pace and this races so well. And he's just been hurt sitting back there, run over by some guy. I really don't know what's happening, but he's with his pants down, and I don't know what's happened. But I hope he will be well tomorrow and will be back in the car with me to push for the win.
We hope so, Niki. Look forward to seeing you and René tomorrow. Thank you very much.
So great to hear from Niki Mauermanhoff. An unfortunate incident there with René Rast. We'll have to wait and see what the consequences of that are. But it's all now looking forward to the main race tomorrow here at Zandvoort, which is going to be very entertaining. And we can now hear from our Pro-Am winners, Andreas Simonsen and Sergei Afanasyev. An eventful race for them.
Pro-Am winners, Grafiev and Simonsen. Tell us, first corner, you got a penalty. What happened?
Yeah, for me, I did a quite good start. I got away from Parente, and for me, I still haven't seen the video of it, but for me it's really strange that I get the penalty, because what I felt, I got hit, but who knows, so we have to see the video and then we'll see afterwards. But
anyway, you had a great drive winning the Pro-Am class. You must be very happy.
I'm quite happy because of winning here on this circuit. It's a beautiful circuit, it's a lot of people around, it's very sunny. It's the first sunny weekend this year, full 100% sunny. And I'm really thankful to the team that they done a great job with Mercedes, and actually I'm also thankful to the Mercedes because they did really well with the car. It it's just perfect over the bumps, and in these long, fast corners, the circuit is just beautiful. If you have time to come, it's just the thing to do.
Well, without a drive-through penalty tomorrow, what can you do?
Yeah, for sure we will do everything to fight with the pro guys, and we will just try to fight our way up for the overall podium maybe, but yeah, we'll see tomorrow.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's not forget Andreas Simonsen on the left-hand side qualified that car, second on the grid as well, so the pace is absolutely there in that car, which is very, very impressive indeed. As there is the race-winning car of Stefan Ortelli and Laurens Van Thor. So here is the championship classification as we head towards tomorrow's main race, and Stefan Ortelli and Laurens Van Thor, as I say, extended their lead at the top of the championship. Sandstrom and Stippler second. Meyer Melnoff and René Rast have moved up now into third position in the championship. Cox and Rosina not here this weekend, down in fourth place. Maximilian Bug and Alan Day, if they continue their good form, they will be up into fourth place in the championship, maybe up into third place, and starting to mount a championship challenge by the time we leave the Netherlands. Enzo Ede and Anthony Kumpen had a quiet race to 12th place, which I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with. Enzo qualified the car in 10th place. Here's a look at the team's classifications. Belgian Audi Club comfortably clear. Sebastian Loeb Racing, despite having a miserable season so far, are still up there in second place, because when they do manage to get the pace out of that car, it usually ends well. BMW Sports Trophy Team Brazil are third in the championship. HTP, amazingly, despite their pace, only fourth in the standings. Here's a look at the results then. And Belgian Audi Club 1, 2, 3. Sebastian Loeb Racing in their 6th place. A good result for Seyfarth Motorsport. Karun Chandok and Jan Seyfarth doing a good job to finish in 8th position, albeit about 10 seconds off Afanasiev and Simonsen in front of them. Aman Ibrahim and Melroy Heemskerk, the local Dutch driver, finishing in 9th place, second in Pro-Am. So that's great news for BMW Team India. And there you can see the gentleman trophy winner in 15th place. That was Peter Charuz and Jan Stovicek, finishing in 15th position overall. A real shame for Zonta and Jimenez. Max Brahms and Hausmann will have a lot of work to do tomorrow as well. And of course, 20th place, not classified, Alvaro Parent and Sebastian Loeb will start tomorrow's race from the back of the grid, which is going to be a real challenge for them. Let's have a look then at today's race highlights. At the start of the race, it was Laurens Van Thor who made a brilliant start, got on the inside of Alvaro Parent. Parent wasn't left enough room by Andreas Simonsen. We went 3 wide around Tarzan. Simonsen was later given a drive-through penalty for that because, as you can see, it forced Alvaro Parent's car out of the race, much to the dismay of Sebastian Loeb. Then we had 3 cars out, a Corvette, a Lamborghini and a Nissan, all going off. The Corvette tried to get going again, but you can see the rear left wheel was hardly in a position to get going. Then the Lamborghini managed to drive its way out of the sand pit and then spread that sand all around the circuit, whilst Nissan had a few problems, in particular a rear right puncture. Ferrari and Lamborghini were battling all afternoon. Dominic Bowen it was at the wheel, and Fabio Anidi fighting very hard. And there was Andreas Simonsen serving his drive-through penalty, whilst Sandstrom prepared to get going. And here was Baumann, tried to go around the outside of Anidi at the chicane, then the door pretty much closed, nowhere to go, spun the Ferrari around. Anidi would then spin off himself later in the race. At the pit stops, Van Thor handed over to Ortelli. Almost a bit of a collision in the pit stops as Lucas Ordóñez rejoined the race, and Sergei Afanasiev had a bit of a bouncy time once he'd taken over the number 2 Mercedes from Andreas Simonsen. And we had a bit more contact. This time it was Harry Prochik in the Lamborghini, putting a little nerf into the side of Aman Ibrahim, but they all managed to hold on and continue out there in the race. And René Rast came out of the car to much applause. Nicky Meyer-Melnoff took the lead of the race, and then Stefan Ortelli took it back again, diving down the inside, going into Tarzan corner, and Ortelli then led, ran a little bit wide, which allowed Meyer-Melnoff half a chance to get back in front, but Ortelli held on eventually for the rest of the race, although it wasn't plain sailing by any stretch of the imagination. Here was the first move on the Audi. Maximilian Bug getting past Edward Sandstrom, going into the left-hander. He then nearly had a big moment running out onto the grass, but then he did manage to get through. Up the inside, past Nicky Mailmanov and up into second place, but Stefano Telli was too far up the road and he took the victory. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you join us tomorrow for the main race, 11:30 local time here in the Netherlands. From myself, Jack Nichols, John Watson and everyone here, we'll see you tomorrow.